And welcome everybody to another Intent Company Live. It's February 28th. It is day 33. I had it and I lost it. Day 33. We're almost getting to the halfway point of our 75 consecutive lives. Appreciate you guys joining today. We're going to be talking about how to use storytelling. What kind of stories you can use, power of storytelling, just kind of talk a little bit, this is going to be a multi-part one for sure. And we're going to talk about how to use storytelling in your business. As the old adage goes, facts tell, stories sell. And so storytelling, hearing stories, it connects with our humanity. It's part of like who we are. Right, and so we're going to talk about that today and some other times in the future, so looking forward to that. But you guys can help us out by getting the word out, the algorithm, do all the stuff, help us out, and Braden can give you some more instructions.
Hey guys, welcome back, and make sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and make sure to hit that bell for notifications.
What a guy. Thank you, son. And, we got the... This is what happens. You're not supposed to plug the computer in right before you go live because then things are out of order. You got mismatched. You got the wrong displays hooked up. So go to intentcompany.com/live and you'll see all the stuff that we got going on. So go check that out. I see intentcompany.com/live. The links are in the comments. I can see Chelsea putting it there. Boom, there it is. It's available for you. Got all the cool stuff happening over there, so check it out. All right, let's talk storytelling. Storytelling, I mean, if you think about it, storytelling is like the most foundational way that we communicate. When you when you get together with friends, when you're, excuse me, when you're talking to your kids, storytelling is everywhere. Every time we connect, every time you get together with a friend, somebody you haven't seen in a while, what do you want to do? You want to tell a story. You want to connect. You want to hear what's going on. And the narrative of life, the narrative of things that have happened, it's just essential to communication. And it's very easy in the business realm to kind of lose track of the power of storytelling, and we kind of start to get more like factual. I need a big water bottle because my wife says I don't drink enough water. I could tell you stories about all the times my wife has told me to drink water. No, but you think about like stories are everywhere, but then in business, we tend to get more factual, right? Features, advantages, benefits. It's this long, it weighs this much, it's this color. When you get it, you'll do this, you'll do that. And the problem is like that stuff doesn't resonate. And especially like in businesses have this typical behavior, this bad tendency, if you will. You as the business owner or in your business, your product, your service, all your stuff so well that you feel like when you convey details about it, that it's just automatically going to resonate, right? Like you're just automatically going to transfer the information. We say like, oh my gosh, like, it's got this upload speed and it does this and that happens. And people that's not their first language, it's like, right? Like they just, I don't get it. I don't get it. And so you can explain and you get people to feel what you're trying to say by the way you wrap it up in a narrative. And so stories are super powerful. Today's going to be kind of like an overview of storytelling. I'm going to give you some high level kind of insights, some ideas, and then we'll do some storytelling workshops. Actually, there's some really cool things that we do to create like different forms of storytelling, and we'll talk about some of those pieces. So let's talk about like the different types of stories. So I've got a little bit of notes here. Excuse me. So the first kind of story that, and this is no particular order, but one story that's really powerful in business is the origin story. Right. So you think of like we love that, right? The Batman origin story, certain things like, oh, how did this come about? How did so-and-so, happen? Well, even the origin story for your business is actually super important, especially if you are a business that, you serve people, you solve problems, right? Like you stepped into something. Well, what usually happens? There was something. There was a revelation that you had. There was an insight that you learned. There was this kind of thing that happened that kind of shaped you to then go and start your business or to create a product or to create something. Like there was something that happened, maybe even as you own your business, right? You discovered this problem that your customers kept having, and then you had this epiphany moment. This thing happened, and now I did this and I did this and I'm getting this result, right? So the origin story for your business, the origin story for your products, services, certain things you have is a really powerful story. It helps people connect. We'll get into kind of like some details of what makes up a good story, but just a simple framework. I've said this many times before in these lives. Just a simple story framework is problem, agitate, and solve. Right? What is the problem? How did that problem how does that really hurt? You agitate a little bit, and then you provide a solution. Right? And there's other frameworks, and we'll talk about those on a future live. But you think about that, like, man, you're running your business or you're doing your life and you encountered this problem and man, in fact, the problem happened to you. And when it got really bad, I got sick of myself and I just couldn't figure out what to do. And then boom, I found the solution. That immediately resonates with everybody who has that problem. That immediately resonated, right? And that's a lot of times how businesses are birthed out of that scenario. Again, products, services, all kinds of different things can come from an origin story. And so origin stories are a fantastic story to have at your disposal in your business. Okay. Number two, business story that's really powerful is a customer success story or a testimony story, right? This is amazing. And again, have your customers use that same framework. I was having this problem. It got really bad. This was hurting. That was hurting. I got taken advantage of by this, this, and this. And then so-and-so company came on the scene and they did A, B, C, and 1, 2, 3, and now all my problems are solved, right? We call those testimonies, but they're a customer success story. And those are extraordinarily powerful. One, because they just reinforce, again, that narrative of why people want to work with you. But most importantly, it's not you telling the story, it's someone else. And if you can get enough of that social proof where people are telling their story enough times, and real people get to hear, like, future customers get to hear what your past customers are saying, that's a massive attraction tool, but it's also a massive conversion tool. All right. So that's really good. Another kind of cool story, similar, is not just how your customers have been affected, but what about your employees? How have your employees been affected? Actually, today we were interviewing someone and that kind of came up, and I had a couple of our key team members sharing their story about working here and what they thought about it and this and that. I actually started getting emotional. I was like, wow, this is it was very touching. It hit me. But customers want to hear that too. Especially when it's missional. If you've got a business that has a missional purpose, there's something more to your business than just making a buck. You serve people, you solve problems, you have a mission, and you can hear the employees, like, their belief in what you're doing, their belief in the mission, their belief in the purpose, and how they come alongside and they're excited to be a part of something like that. That's a powerful story. And it's not just about getting new talent. I mean, obviously having a story like that's a fantastic way to use to get new talent for your business, but also for your customers. People are going to feel more confident to work with businesses that have that mission, have that purpose, and have employees that are aligned with it. All right, number 4, vision and values story. Okay, so where are you going? Where is the vision? What are you looking at? What do you see? What's the narrative about where are you going? And it's kind of cool because the same thing is like, hey, we're seeing this problem. We know this problem hurts, and that's why we see, and we're headed this way, and we're going to make this change, right? And vision's really big around sharing with goals and things like that, but also like your values. What makes up your, what makes up you as an organization? What are your values? What do you stand for? So you can definitely package that up. And again, you could share that with your employees. You can share that with your future customers. You can have that on your website. But that's a fantastic story to use. Number 5, specific problem solving stories. So, typically, like I talked about, problem, agitate, solve. Typically, your products and services solve a multitude of problems, right? You have multitude of problems. So you can create like scenario stories. Right. And I use this a lot in sales presentations, right? Where I'll like kind of know a little bit about who I'm talking to. And then I, kind of share like, yeah, in fact, you might be encountering this kind of a problem. Is that true? Yeah, actually I am. Yeah, and it probably hurts when this, and this happens. Yep, it does. And then you come in and you show, well, that's why we have this feature and we solve it. Right. So you got to think out of your whole product line, various products, various parts of your products solve many different problems. There's many different solutions there. Each of those could be their own little micro video. This would do super good on like YouTube and things like that, especially if you're really solving tangible problems, because people are like, how do I fix blah, blah, blah? How does this happen? How do I do this? How do I do that? And you've got these, mini kind of problem solution stories, problem, agitate, solve stories. And they're all correlated to your product, to your service, to what you offer. Those kind of stories are fantastic for getting awareness and driving demand for your products. So similar to a kind of customer success story would be like a transformational story. And this would be more than just a testimonial. This would be somebody who has encountered radical improvements, radical insights, radical changes. This is like if a customer success story is like a testimony, this would be like a case study, right? We have somebody who walks through this fact like, hey, especially if you do B2B, right? We were this kind of business. We're growing this much. We've been in business for 20 years and just getting this kind of growth rate. And then all of a sudden we encountered these guys. and they told us about this, and we did this, and we did that, and we did this, and now look at where we're at, right? So it's more inspirational, it's more motivational, it's deeper, it's more kind of substantial, but transformation stories could be really awesome. Also, community stories, right? So like, how is your business affecting the community, especially if like you're a local business, right? Tell stories around philanthropic events, socially responsible things. If you're hosting events, you're doing kind of cool stuff, like make sure you document it, create it up in a story, show the positive good that your business is doing. And there's many more types of stories, but those are just some of the different ways that you tell stories. And these are types of stories, but you got to think, why, like where do you broadcast these stories, right? We could have webinars, you could have masterclasses, you can have YouTube videos, social media stuff, things on your website, right? Especially like key landing pages. If you got a landing page that you want to see a conversion happen on, right? You want somebody to like take an action, have as much social proof type videos as you can on that page. Like, you get some really good testimonies about people who have been transformed by your product. These awesome success things. People watch those, you're going to have super high conversion rates. That's a fantastic tool to test. So those are just a few of the different types of stories that you can use in business. And these should be interwoven in all kinds of different stuff, right? So we just talked about webinars, all that. Your sales pitches should be laden with stories. I probably tell at least 10 different stories in our kind of hour-long typical presentation deck about our advocacy machine. And some of them are case studies about other clients that did stuff. Other ones are kind of like situational to get people to like understand and to resonate with the problem. So you can use these in so many different ways. All right. So we're gonna do a full-blown workshop. This is, I always tell Chelsea, we're gonna do this. Chelsea, we're doing a storytelling workshop. I got a really cool framework that we've worked with. Hero's Journey, Nancy Duarte, all these kind of guys have some pretty awesome stuff. And we have we'll go through some frameworks. We'll do a workshop. It'll be fantastic. Okay, but here's some principles and some tips of how to really use, like, how to create a story. All right. So the first thing you got to figure out is, what is the desired action that you want, right? Like, what is the outcome that you're looking to do with the story? Because that's obviously going to define the type of stories that you sell. So again, if you're trying to get a sale versus an employee versus people to share it, right? All these different things are going to vary quite a bit, right? Humor stories are going to be shared more on social media. Customer success stories are going to do better for conversion rates. So different. So you got to understand your outcome of why are you using it. What kind of outcome are you looking for, right? Second thing you got to do is you got to really know your audience, right? You got to really understand, what are the problems that they have? What are the needs they have? What things are they interested in? What kind of moves them? What kind of awareness do they already have that you can bring in things that they can resonate with? Right. So you really want to clearly define your audience. Like our Focus and Fire workshop that we have is all about this. It's brand intent, which is the next thing I'm going to share, and customer intent. What is the intentions of your customer? What are their passions? What are their goals? What do they want? The more that you can have that defined, then the easier it is for you to connect with them and help them achieve their goals. Really, storytelling is that. Storytelling is a way for you to, in narrative form, give them the inspiration, the tools, the vehicles, everything that they need to go and achieve their goals. And that goal achievement should be aligned to the next one, which is your brand intent, right? So if you know what you do better than anyone else in the world, and you know the people who need it most, then the bridge between those is really just your narrative that you're going to be, the story that you tell to connect your unique solution to the world and the people who need it most. So you tie in the narrative, the solution, with obviously your products and services. That's how you convert, right? So you really got to understand even who you are. You have a sober self-assessment, as they say. It's one of the things that we have on our worksheet. We talk about know thyself, sober self-assessment. So what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Yeah, that'll be part of the workshop. We'll do brand intent stuff. That'll be really good. So you got to tell the right story to the right person at the right time. You're going to get the right result. So you know who you are, you know the people who need it most. You connect those together. Okay. So next aspect of really good stories are real life examples. So it's good to use, just any kind of illustration, made up illustration to kind of give you the point like, yeah, I get that. Okay. Like you can totally use those, but there's something that really comes across as you being the authority when it's tied to real life examples. Like I had a customer who was, an MSP, and they had this problem and they did this, and then we came in and we did that, and the story's real. It's like, oh wow, like it creates credibility, creates relatability, and especially like if the person that you're referencing is a close tie to your customer, that's really important. So use as many personal examples, real life examples as possible. Tell real stories, document your stories, and tell them. And that's a really good habit to get into. Document cool stuff. You'll forget a lot of the cool stuff that happens. Make sure that you're documenting it. Okay. All right. Another point for this would be make sure when you're communicating, you use the language that resonates with your customer, right? Stay out of like using jargon and terms that people don't know about, right? And especially if you're in marketing or business, we love acronyms. We love TLAs. What's a TLA? It's a 3-letter acronym. We love TLAs, right? And most businesses have their own language, and that's why, again, this story is for your customer. So make sure you stay away from using complex terminology, in-depth kind of things that are particular to your business. Again, it's like what I mentioned a second ago, like this first language kind of stuff. Stay away from all of that. Make it clear, make it easy to understand, keep it concise. Okay. All right. Next point that's super duper helpful when creating a narrative. You must realize and we'll get into this in the workshop, but this is all based off of the book, A Hero's Journey by Joseph Campbell. He's got this perfect framework on developing stories, and we'll use a lot of his stuff when we share from the workshop. Okay. One of the most important principles to realize when you're telling a story is you are not the hero of your story. All right, so as the business, you almost feel like that, like, no, we understand that we are the ones that save the day. No, the hero of the story is your customer. They're the hero. They're the ones that have to, use the Lord of the Rings example. They're the ones that need to get to Mount Doom. They're the ones that are trying to get to Mount Doom. They're the ones that are trying to save the day. They're the ones that are trying to make it happen. You are Samwise. If you guys don't know Lord of the Rings, you don't know any of my examples. Okay. But Samwise is the support person, right? Or the Gandalf. It's the support role that actually helps the hero achieve his goals. You're the mentor, right? Your customer is the hero. You're the mentor that leads and guides and gives them the right tool at the right time and the right advice at the right time so that they can go and be the hero of the story. They can go save the day and they can go make it happen. Okay, so that's a super important part of telling stories is this is where empathy comes in. This is where that customer journey stuff that we always talk about comes in. You need to make your customer the hero, and you need to lead and guide and inspire them to save the day. So that's a very important part. Okay. Another aspect of good storytelling is use visuals to help support the story. So we'll probably talk a little bit about like creating PowerPoints and things like that. So that's where Nancy Duarte comes in. She's amazing at this. So she has a book called Slideology. That's the name of the book. You want to read Resonate first, which is about storytelling, and then you read Slideology, which is all about creating visual presentations. So if you do make slides, if you make PowerPoints, things like that, if you have bullet points in your slides, Actually, I went to a conference back in the day, and they said that bullets kill kitties. So every time you have a bullet point in your slide presentation, a kitty dies. That's what they said. But what was that phrase about? Because bullets, first of all, they're lame. They look terrible in a presentation, right? You ever get a presentation, it's like a slide, and it's just a bunch of bullets. It's hideous. But here's the other thing. The more text that you have on a slide, the more people are reading it. They're reading the text. And you know what they're not doing if they're reading the text? They're not listening to you. Think about it. You can't, when you're reading, you're listening to your own voice, process the things. You're not listening to both conversations. So you don't want to put a lot of text in slides. You don't want to put a lot of text in your presentations because people are just going to read it and it's going to be distracting and it doesn't look great. Instead, use visual elements that help support the story. So if you ever watch any of our see our webinars and stuff, it's usually like graphics that are changing and images that support what we're talking about. And the text is minimal, right? It's like a headline or a little phrase or something that encapsulates the theme of what we're talking about. Again, I'll go over this more in the workshop, but the other kind of really cool part about using PowerPoints in that way is a slide, like a visual aspect in that little title. It's actually like helps you understand where you're at in your story. Right, so you just kind of see that airplane with the thing, whatever example you use, and you automatically know, oh, I'm going to tell that story about this, or I'm going to go over that part. So the visual elements actually just support the narrative, and then that way it creates more of an engaging thing, and it's actually a really great way to tell stories. So if you do webinars, masterclasses, you do online educations, trainings, you got a sales pitch, use PowerPoints in that way, where there are visual elements that support your narrative, keep you on track, but then also create kind of a cool visual aspect. I got all kinds of stuff I want to talk about, but I'll save it for the workshop. Okay, number 7, good tip for storytelling is practice. Practice and refine. My pitch deck for the automated advocacy machine, I probably do it in my sleep. Like I probably wake up just saying like certain phrases. I get to a certain point, I tell the same story, right? The same little phrase. If you say the right thing to the right person at the right time, you get the right result, right? You get these little phrases and these little narratives, and it's cool because the more you do it, the more that you're telling a story, especially if it's like a pitch deck. Make sure you can see the people. Make sure you're doing screen share. You can see people's faces because you can see like when they're nodding, they're like, oh yeah, I get that. And it clicks, and that visual feedback gets you to understand like, oh yeah, this is what works. The hardest thing that I have about doing these lives is there's not people here. I make Chelsea and Larissa stay in here just so I have some human element, but I want to see people's faces. I want to see them nod their head. I want to see the feedback. Thanks, Chelsea. Thanks for nodding your head. She's loving it. She's loving it over there. We're crushing it. And but that kind of feedback helps you understand how well you're doing it. So practice. If you don't have customers, you don't feel like you're ready to do it there, do it in front of a family. Do it in front of your spouse. Do it role play. Do it in front of your coworkers. Just get the reps in. And the more you get the reps in, the more you're going to flow. Now I say that. I personally hate scripts. And if you've been watching any of my content, you're probably like, yeah, I know. You just go off on all kinds of tangents. Yes, I don't. I have like bullet points in things that I look off of for notes, but I do not like scripts. And so again, that's where going back to the visualization thing, you can use visual elements to help carry your story about what you're going to talk about. But I personally don't like reading off the script because then it feels like canned. Feels it's not authentic, and so for me, I personally don't do that. But for you, you might be like, no, I need the script, or I need the phrases, or I need the things at the right time. So you'll figure out where you're at, but just get your reps in. Keep telling your story, keep doing your thing, keep going. Okay, and you're gonna realize you really have a handful of these key stories, and the way that you put them together at the right time, especially if you're doing sales type things, you gotta you see the problem. Right, the core 4 or 5 problems that all of your customers have, and then you kind of have the right narrative to share to get them to be interested. Right. All right. Last just point about storytelling, and I kind of talked about this in the last one, is just use it everywhere. Put it on your website, put it on social media, make, marketing and sales materials, and just get it out there. Get your story over and over again. You got to keep telling your story. You will be way sicker of your story than everybody else is. And you'll be like, man, that's all I do is tell the story over and over again. No, but people need to hear it. It's not their first language. It's not the thing that they just know better than anything else. They haven't heard it the 8 billion times like you've heard it. And so you got to keep telling your story. You got to keep saying, like, what are we about? We're about advocacy marketing, serving people, solving problems. Like, you hear me say those phrases all the time. That's the narrative of what Intent Company is. A business that's not just there to make money, but it's there to serve people. It's there to solve problems. It's there to be a greater good for the community, for the world, to make a difference, to have purpose. Like, all of those things, we keep telling the story over and over again because it's who we are, but it takes a while for it to resonate and connect with other people. So what's your story? What are you about? Where are you going? What are you giving to the world? All right. So start thinking about that. Yeah. If you're watching all these, start going through that. Start writing down some ideas. Follow it up, and if not tomorrow, next week we're going to do a storytelling workshop. Maybe tomorrow. So come back, 5 p.m. Central Time, on all your favorite social media networks. But we're going to dive in more on storytelling. It is super powerful. And it's actually just kind of a cool way to market. It's a cool way to sell. Facts tell, but stories sell. So, all right, that's all I wanted to cover today. I wanted you to get fired up about stories. I wanted you to really be thinking about what are your stories, where are you going to put them, and then we'll go through a storytelling workshop and help you guys create a framework, a storyboard for your first story. And this is a big one. Big one. You're welcome. All right. We'll see you tomorrow, 5 p.m. Central Time. This is Billy Robbins with Intent Company. I really appreciate you guys. And yeah, we'll see you tomorrow, 5 p.m. Take care.